start with our broadcast section, which we will be led by Roger Clark, and we'll go through our rights holders, and then we will. The first section will be embargoed until it's finished, and then we'll go on to the dailies after that. So we will start with Roger Clark from Sky Sports News, please.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi, good afternoon, Roger.
Hi, we start first of all with injuries, and that's been an ongoing problem with you. And any updates as well on James Maddison?
No, he's still continuing with the medical team. So as I always said with James, there's no timeline on it. We're just hoping that gradually he'll feel better, and he's had the reassurance of a few scans to know that he doesn't need any operation, but it's just a little bit irritable around where he's had the previous operation. But we're hopeful that over these next few weeks that that'll get better. And like I said, it'd be great to have him back in the squad again.
You said before the last game that you're going to have to get a bit creative in your selection. Is that going to be the case again for Brighton?
I would say creative in the selection, but the players that we have, maybe the introduction of some young players, looking at different systems, different ways. Because obviously, when you're missing the talent that we have and the qualities that they bring, then of course, then the game looks different in terms of how you play. But we've got a really, really good group of players that have got a great spirit, and we've seen that last night in the game. You go away to Burnley; it's always going to be a tough game. It's got to be hard fought, and we come away from there with the point, and now we move on to our next game. So yeah, but yeah, we'll look to bring everything into the game against Brighton.
Just in terms of the running now to the end of the season and what you've had to cope with throughout, are you looking at this race for the top four at the moment? It's going to come down as much to players being fit, who's got the deepest squads and so on, as much as it is to do with the team you put out and the tactics that you have? Is it just about keeping as many players fit as you can to get 11 out on the pitch?
Yeah, well, naturally, the squads with the deepest numbers of players, and of course the ones that are injury free, then of course that can be a huge advantage when there are so many games so tightly together, and it's such a unique season. That is something that of course aids the process in getting results, but it's not to say you can't, and for us there's still such a long way to go. 11 games is a lot of games to play, but you can only focus on the next one. And as I've always said, it's not about being in the top four, the top six now. It's where you're at once the whistle goes on the 38th game, and when it ends, that's where you'll know where you are. So, but of course, if you, as we hope in the next numbers of weeks we can get some of our players back, and but if not, we deal with it, and we look to get in a performance and get results.
And you used the phrase unique season, and I know we've been looking at figures across the Premier League and the amount of injuries. In your experience, does it seem like there are more injuries across the board? And how many of those do you think you can put down to the fact that we have had this extraordinary, unique season, as you call it?
Well, yeah, I think that there's absolutely no question about that. The intensity of the Premier League, there's no other league like it anywhere else in the world. So, and that's even without the supporters. Of course, we miss all supporters. However, you see the intensity of the games, how difficult they are. If you're in the competitions, and lots of the competitions, of course, that makes it even more challenging. And then you add on to that international games. So, there's no question that the lack of recovery, the lack of rest, has definitely helped an injury list grow in most clubs.
And you mentioned the international matches there. We've got international matches coming up. First of all, have you got concerns about players going away when you have had all these injury problems? And also, I'd looked through your plans. I wasn't sure if there are any going to any of the red list countries at all. But if so, have you been given any guidance as to what will happen in terms of players going away to places that are on the list?
Well, I still think we're awaiting more information on it. I think as we sit here today, we would certainly not want any of our players to be going into any country that is a red list country that would allow them not to come back here and play. But as I said, we're waiting still more information over the next week or so. and then we can be then clear and then make a judgment from there.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Brendan. Cheers.
Thanks, Rodgers. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Faker Others for PLP then, please.
Hi, Brendan. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Really interesting what you were saying there to Roger about the injuries. With your squad as it is, what are you having to say to the rest of the squad to kind of pick them up? Because you were having such an amazing run, great momentum, and then the injuries seem to have stalled that a little bit. Is it a case of telling them about the opportunities that they have or galvanising them in any way?
No, it's just a continuing conversation around the possibilities. You know, in our last 6 league games, we've won 3, we've drawn 2, and only lost 1. So 12 out of 18 points. If you look at that over the last 6 games, is okay. We've lost 1 game, which we weren't at our level. But as I said, we've just been talking about dealing with the situation. It's unfortunate. It's the situation we're in, but we keep looking to deal with that, put out a team and put out a way that can allow us to get a result. So it's certainly not dwelling on the negativity around it. You know, I'm not one to go on about that. Of course, we would love all these players and have the squad fully fit, and that would be great. But it's not the case. So I can't do anything more than what we're doing at the moment. We're, the players were very strong in our spirit, and we will fight in every single game to get the result.
Useful having players like Kelechi Iheanacho, though. He really knows how to come up and score important goals, doesn't he? I mean, how important could he be for you for the last 11 games of the season?
Yeah, well, he is very important. It was a brilliant goal. Like, the technique in that goal last night was outstanding, and Kel's he gives everything to the game and he plays. He works so hard. He's scored some very important goals for us, this season and in particular of late. But yeah, his goal and his importance is clearly there.
He obviously scored that winner against Brighton as well. You've played them twice in the last 3 months or so, both victories. What did you learn from those games that you can use on Saturday?
No, we just know it's a very difficult game. Despite the results, the performance level is very good. Been really impressed by Graham's work since he's been in there, and the game model he's tried to implement within his team. So they have nice confidence with the ball. The positioning game is good. They circulate the ball at good speed. They get good numbers going forward, and they want to attack the game. So yeah, we will be ready and prepared for a tough game.
Bearing in mind what happened with them at the weekend, does it make them a little bit more of a difficult prospect, if you like, because they'd be hurting from that and want to win even more, but also it sucked them a little bit down into a battle at the bottom, so they desperately need points. Does that make them a tougher opponent in many ways?
No, I don't think it's any more or less difficult. I think that the modern game, you have to put any disappointment you have behind you. They know themselves the chance to win the game. They missed 2 penalties, so forget about the free kick. They will be thinking that they could have won the game with opportunities and with the penalties. So the footballer nowadays and managers and staff, you've got to get on with it, and they've had a good full week to prepare, and they'll be motivated, I'm sure, to get their win at home. Great.
Thanks, Brendan. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Faye. Thank you.
Okay. Ian Abrahams to talk sport, please.
Hi, Brendan. How are you?
Okay.
How are you? Any fresh injuries, by the way, from last night?
No. I think we're clean bill of health from last night.
Makes a change, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are you worried at all that this season is beginning to mirror a little bit like last season?
No. It's as I said, it's totally different. I've been really proud of the players this season. We've had much more to deal with in terms of our European games and of course the difficulties we've had around the injuries. So what the players have done up until now, I'm very proud of. But we still have a lot of games to play and a real exciting end to the season. But no, we just have to deal with what comes our way, and look to win the next game. We're in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. We're in a really good position in the league, but we have to go out and reinforce that each time we play. And like I said, I've never been one to look at it and think that, as I say, we're in the top four. I think you're in the top four when you sign off at the end of the season and the final whistle goes after the last game against Tottenham. That's where you know where you finish. And where you are, you deserve to finish in that position. So until that comes, we just, come in every day, look to have a good energy and a good attitude to our work, and then we can see where it takes us.
Well, flipping that then around, are your players and are you more inspired to finish top four this season because of what happened last season?
No more, no less. I think it's all a learning experience, Miss. I think that, I believe that, coming the end of the season, wherever we finish, we'll want to reinforce our squad at the end of the season, make it stronger, and then look to put in a real competitive challenge next season. So, listen, we finished where we wanted to finish last year in terms of a European place. Of course, every team and everyone will tell you they would love to be in that top four. But for us, success is always going to be European football. The challenges that we have against the other clubs, and the depths of squads and the financial clout that those teams have, for us to be up there challenging is terrific. But we want to, like I've always said, we want to be as competitive as we possibly can be. So, and up until this point, we have been. So we hope that can continue.
What about penalties? We saw Brighton miss 2 last week at West Brom. I don't think you've ever had that problem at any club you've been at where you've had a spell of missed penalty after missed penalty. I mean, they've missed a fair few this season. As a manager, is it one of the most important things that you know before the game who your penalty taker is, and that you on the sidelines have utmost confidence that 9 times out of 10 they will score?
I think managers and what will look at it differently. Some allow the players on the day to get a feel for who's in confidence. We will always nominate 2 to 3 penalty takers, and so we know exactly who's going to take it. So there's no conflict, and then you put the trust in the player. I think it's if you've got players that want to take it, then it shows the courage to have that personality to step up and take it. But sometimes you may have a run where it doesn't quite go for you, and then that can continue. So, but no, I think from my own perspective, I'm very lucky here. I've got some really good penalty takers, and they're always assured and confident when they go to take them.
Have you ever had to forcibly tell your players which one is taking it when there's been a bit of an argument, or has that scenario not come across your management career so far?
Yeah, no, I think I had it once at Liverpool with Mario Balotelli. If I think back to there was a game back then, but apart from that, no, it's never been an issue.
And last one, regarding the international break and the players that are going to be going away, would you like it taken out of your hands, Leicester City's hands, and for FIFA or the FA to say, right, yes, players are going to go or players are not going to go? Because I've just spoken to Graham Potter, and generally managers seem to think, well, this is above my pay grade, but yeah, me or the clubs are having to deal with it.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think the players or the clubs have been told it's going to be an individual case for each club. But I think in essence, all the clubs will be looking at not wanting to send players, I'm pretty sure, into countries that where there's going to be a risk of them coming back and not being able to play and have to go into quarantine in a hotel. I don't think that any club will want that for any of the players. But I still think there's still some more clarity around some bits of information that we're waiting on over this next week or so. Not all the clubs have, all the players certainly been called up as of yet. So, but I'm pretty sure over the next week or so there'll be more clarity given around it. But ultimately, yeah, we wouldn't want to be sending any player away that's going to prevent him from coming back and being available for his club.
Brilliant stuff. Good to see you again, my friend.
You too. Cheers, miss. Thanks, my man.
Okay, it's good. Owen, the BBC Radio Leicester, please.
Good afternoon, Brendan. Hope you're well.
Hi.
I wonder whether I could start with some of the injured players, not necessarily new injuries, but we saw Wesley Fofana come back and play last night and come on as a substitute. How is he doing maybe in the hours following that performance last night? And I wonder ahead of the weekend whether there are any other players who you might be able to add to your squad who have been injured up to this point.
Yeah, in terms of Wesley, he was excellent. We wanted to get him on to try and get half hour at least into his legs last night, and he came through it very well. He had another hour training this morning, which was really good. So he looks fine and available for the weekend. In terms of any other players, no, there'll be none. They'll be back available for the weekend.
Lovely stuff. Matt Piper, who, of course, you know, is our matchday summariser, has suggested maybe that there's a bit of a siege mentality at the football club at the moment. And I know that when you spoke ahead of the game against Burnley, you said that you had to find a way to sort of grind out results and offer opportunities to younger players as well. Not necessarily saying that is the case, but could that be a good way to motivate maybe some of the players who are coming to the end of their energy levels? I think of Yuri Tillemans, who has played an awful lot of football. I think that was game 43 last night this season for him. But could a siege mentality help players like Yuri maybe in that motivation and the will and the want to get maybe that extra yard to make a tackle or to get on the end of a cross, etc.?
Well, I think you're always, as a manager, looking to galvanise your squad on, especially in a season such as this, where there's so much demand physically and mentally for the players. But fortunately, we have a tremendous spirit here within the squad. Like you said, the players, you know, after the weekend's disappointment, we went out into a game last night, which is always a very, very difficult game against Burnley. But we stood up to the task physically. Mentally, we kept going after the disappointment of conceding early. And I just think the overall spirit in our team is very, very strong. It's you know, it's through the environment that we create. It's you know, there's no frills around it. The players work very hard, and they're always very motivated to do well. So, but of course, whenever everyone talks about the injuries, it's something that we tend not to. We just deal with it and look to be the best that we can be. And okay, the game might look slightly different because of the quality of players that are out, but we still want to be able to put out a team that can muster up results, and that's like we were seeing last night. And it'll be the same idea going in at the weekend.
How important is that? Is the older players and the more experienced players in the squad to creating an environment like kind of the one that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's everyone. It's not just the senior players, you know, because at these times as well, what is equally as important is with you young players. You know, they play without any fear. You know, they're not burdened by anything. They just want to go and play football, and that's equally as important. Of course, experience is great because that keeps the emotion intact. You know, you don't have to be so emotional. The older you get, the more experience you get. But you just stay in that neutral mindset that you never get too high and you never get too low. So I think where we're at, the balance that we have is very good across the squad, and we'll just continue to keep that mentality right the way through.
Brendan, I wonder whether I could ask you about Hamza Chowdhury, who, of course, you spoke to us about last night and making that maybe early mistake, and you praised his mentality for coming back from that yesterday and playing very, very well against Burnley. But I wonder whether, is he going through a maybe similar coaching in terms of his passing as to what Wilfred Ndidi was last season? Because I remember you saying very similar things after the draw away at Chelsea last season, early on in the season, about Wilfred Ndidi and his passing as well. So is there a similar coaching, maybe methods and techniques that you're using on Hamza now?
Well, no, it's just reinforcing with players the importance of the ball and the possession. You know, at this level, and especially how we want to play, you have to be precise with your passing. And but that was the beauty of Hamza last night. His response, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, I'll always the players that build the game, and if they make a mistake, then I will always take that responsibility because I asked them to play that way. But yeah, he responded very well. He didn't shy away from the ball. He still took the ball, and he looked to get in the box and nearly scored a goal. So, but no, all the players, especially defensive-minded midfield players, they still have to have that ability to get turned to allow you to play forward. But it's just constant everyday exercises, drills, working on technique, and you take that into your game, and you'll play the game to a better level.
Brendan, thank you very much. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We will draw the broadcast section there, so that's all available to go now. We'll move on to the dailies shortly, so thank you to our broadcast colleagues.